The Black Panther, Jews in Israel. This comes from the continuation of a series that we held. This is the second video out of it, out of this continuation series, the second out of four, dealing with the issue between the Black Panthers, the Jews, and Israel. This is Huey Newton responds back to the Jews. He held a press conference, and he wanted to respond to the allegation that the Black Panther Party was being anti-Semitic. So he held a video conference for a press conference. I remember the Honorable Queen Connie Matthews said that the Jews in the Black Panther organ were being anti-black. So this is Huey Newton response to the Jews, and you know what he said back to them. From a press conference by Huey P. Newton. Huey Newton held a press conference August 26, 1970 in the office of the KPFA, the Pacifica radio station in Berkeley, California. The TAPE conference was rebroadcast August 27 by Pacifica station WBAI in New York, September 11. We wrote to Newton for permission to publish the excerpt from his tape press conference and any edited version he approved. It was then suggested to us that we reprint from the text and publish it in the Black Panthers, September 5th, 1970, pages 16 through 17. This, therefore, is the text that's now used here. So we would like to reiterate, we support the Palestinian people. We make it clear that the Black Panther Party is not anti-Semitic. We have been charged with being anti-Semitic. As a matter of fact, some statements could be cited where some members of the party made some statements to anger in order to hurt some of our white radical friends, because we believe that they did not live up to the friendship agreement. But these are internal fights, and they should be kept internal. But they were exposed and used by reactionaries, and this is partially our fault because we indulged in that. But as far as our official position, we are not anti-Semitic. As far as the Israeli people are concerned, we are not against the Jewish people. We are not against that government. We are against that government that persecutes the Palestinian people. We have to admit there is something wrong in the Middle East. The Palestinian people are living in hovels. They do not have land. They've been stripped and murdered, and we cannot support this for any reason. We also realize some of the shortcomings of the United Arab Republic. And our view on it is that we think the people led by the Palestinian people should be led in the struggle of revolutionary struggle in order to transfer the Middle East into truly a people's republic. And at the same time, we support a small group of people who are in Israel, who are revolutionaries, who are working to see the Zionist government of Israel is transformed into a secular people state instead of a religious state. We say that the way the country is operating at the time in a height of chauvinism and ethnicism. I say this because any state that requires a member to adhere to a certain religious reactionary state, we must realize that our main concern is to transform the world into a place where people can live. We are chiefly interested in the survival of our people, but not at the expense of other people. Black people in America have been persecuted. Therefore, it's easy for us to identify with other people who are suffering. We have a long history of being enslaved and murdered. We have wrestled with the question of nationalism, and we have concluded that we have a moral right to embrace nationalism. We have a moral right to choose separatism, to move in a separate state just as the Jewish people have the moral right. But we realize the United States imperialism will not allow us to separate and live side by side with the United States imperialism. It is obvious that we have not become self-determined because the United States will not let countries exist 15,000 miles away in freedom. They will not let these countries exist in freedom 15,000 miles away, so they certainly will not let us exist in a separate state in North America in freedom. So the question can be put into the future. The first task is to transform society so people can live in freedom. On central task is to overthrow the ruling circle who will not permit self-determination to exit into the world. After we achieve this goal, the question of nationalism can be handled. Black nationalists can then go to the UN and ask for a plebiscite in order to ask the people the way they want to go. After transformation in society into a social society, there will be no need for separation. This transformation can only take place by wiping out the United States imperialism and establishing a new earth, a new society, a new world. So politically and strategically correct, the action to take is not to separation, but to world revolution in order to wipe out imperialism. And then people will be free to decide their destiny. Self-determination and national independence cannot really exist while United States imperialism is alive. That's why we don't support nationalism as our goal. In some instances, we might support nationalism as a strategy. We call this revolutionary nationalism. The motives are internationalist because the revolutionaries are attempting to secure liberated territory in order to choke imperialism by cutting them off from the countryside. When the motivation for national liberation is solely creating a capitalist state, so that the ruling circle is the capitalist state can align itself with United States imperialism, then it's reactionary nationalism and cannot be supported by revolutionaries. Israel was created by Western imperialism and maintained by Western firepower. The Jewish people have the right to exist as long as they solely exist down to the reactionary expansionist Israeli government. Our situation is similar in many ways. We have said morally perhaps the Jewish people can make a case for separatism and a Zionist state based upon their religion for self-defense. We say that morally maybe we could accept this, but politically and strategically we know that it's incorrect. In the first place, what is it doing perpetuating nationalism? Perpetuating reactionary, if nationalism is reactionary. I think the United States have proved that because it used nationalism to rape the world and dominate everyone else. In other words, it went from nationalism to national conclusions, and that is empire or imperialism. So that the Jewish people must be careful not to be an agent of imperialism. We're asking progressive forces, revolutionary forces inside of Israel to transform that society to that people of the Muslim religion and the people of the Jewish religion, and people who live in the Middle East will be able to come together as one man and truly build a new world. As a matter of fact, we are looking forward to this time. We see this time will exist because we see the contradiction and develop between the Palestinian people and the UAR. We also see a growing group of Israel that is organized against the racist tactics of the Israeli government. I said that we will go over the record and we can see that Jewish students demonstrating against the Minister of Defense against the war tactics of Israel. We encourage this activity. We struggle with this group of the so-called Jewish people, so we reject any charges of being anti-Semitic. Really, that some people who happen to be Jewish and support Israel will use the Black Panther Party position that is against imperialism and against agents of imperialism. Such as an attack is anti-Semitic. We did this as backbiting, racist, underhanded tactics, and we were treated as such. We have respect for all people. We respect the right for anyone to people exist. We want the Jewish people and the Palestinian people to live in harmony together. We support the Palestinian struggle for liberation 100%, and we will go on doing this. And we would like all the progressive people of the world to join in our ranks in order to make the world which all the people can live. Power to the people. So that was Huey Newton's speech and his reply back to the anti-Semitic question. We realize that some people who happen to be Jewish and who support Israel will use the Black Panther Party position that is against imperialism and against agents of imperialists as attack of anti-Semitic. So he knew that they would use this attack of anti-Semitic. We think that this is backbiting, racist, underhanded tactic, and we shall treat it as such. So, he agreed, but he was just anti-oppression. So there's a lot of things where they had a mistake, Our situation is similar in so many ways. We say that it's morally perhaps that the Jewish people can make a case for separatism in a Zionist state based on a religion for self-defense. We say morally we can accept this, but politically and strategically we know it's incorrect. So it was a lot of things that he had prepared to state. We are chiefly interested in the survival of our people, but not at the expense of other people. Black people in America have been persecuted. Therefore, it's easy for us to identify with other people who are suffering. We have a long history of being enslaved and murdered. We have wrestled with the question of nationalism, and we have concluded that we have a moral right to embrace nationalism. We have a moral right to choose separatism and to move into the separate state as the Jewish people have their moral right. So he was saying that we had the same moral rights as the other people too to do what they had to do. But he kind of abhorred, he thought nationalism was kind of reactionary from this piece when I'm picking up from. But he was laying that black people does have the moral right, the same thing, to do that. So this was his reply back to the Jews. Let them know, to the Jewish Current magazine, let them know how he felt about the question of the Panther Party being anti-Semitic. Speaking on the Jews, he said, when the motive for national liberation is solely based on the capitalist state, so the ruling class of that capitalist state can align itself with the United States imperialism, then it's reactionary nationalism and cannot be supported by revolutionaries. Israel was created by Western imperialism and maintained by Western firepower. So he has some qualms with the city of Israel and the nationalism of the Israelis, of the Jewish people in that land. Anyway, you know what I'm saying? Hey, this is much love. We're going to get to part 3 coming up after this. You know what I'm saying? Because the Jews had to respond back to this. And they respond pretty high. We're going to see what they going to say. You know, so that's going to be part 3. Hey, subscribe to the channel. You know, I love talking about black history, African history that most people don't talk about. You know what I'm saying? And I love y'all. Hey, much love. Let's keep on moving and keep on subscribing and keep on getting the camera pumping. Peace.